think it has been a very long time since I've actually even showed these guys on my channel. And I know I actually remember that back in the days where I made some videos on these guys, I remember you guys really loved them and you thought they were really awesome and things like that. And I really appreciate that, and you know, I think they're really awesome too, but I've just not made a lot of videos on them. I've been busy with my saltwater reef tank. However, let's just get a little quick update on these guys, because I'm actually maybe soon going to move these guys, but it depends on if I got any room for it or if they actually can grow more in this small system. But as you guys know, this is a 15-gallon nano tank, and I bought this tank just immediately for a cheap price, mainly because it had lots of good equipment that I've used before in many freshwater tanks, and it has some pretty good, you know, it had a pretty good size where I could put some nice rocks in here, some shells, you know, things like that. And I thought it could be really unique for some small African cichlid fry. And as you guys can remember, the first video I made, they were not bigger than like this size or something. They're really tiny, but now they're almost 5 to 6 centimeters, and they're actually very pretty. They got lots of coloration. You can see there's this guy right here that is changing coloration because it's a male, and there's this one too that is changing color. However, he have always had spots instead of stripes. I don't know why, but these guys are just awesome. I still can't believe that I've bred these guys, and I still have 8 of them, and I haven't lost a single one. And all I can say is that these guys are so hardy, because they can tolerate pretty much anything. They're really hardy, and they eat pretty much anything, which is just awesome. And they're very fun to keep, and they're very active, very colorful, and I think they're just awesome. And the kind of my purpose with this video, my goal with this video, was to teach you guys how to actually keep Auratus fry, which is the whole series of Auratus fry. I've tried to teach you guys how to actually feed them and things like that. I've showed you, I mean, when they're very small, there's a lot of people who have trouble with actually feeding them, because they will, you know, they don't get the right food and stuff like that. But you can actually just buy some Malawi or Tanganyika flakes. I got some Tanganyika flakes from Tropical that I just mashed up into a like almost a powder, and that is small enough for very small African cichlid fry to actually eat. And a common problem that people have with feeding flake food for small fishes is that it usually can actually block their gills and actually kill them by actually strangling them almost. And you know, that kind of sucks. But I mean, you can just give them some very tiny powder, and they'll actually eat it, and that won't happen anything. It won't block their metabolism or anything like that. It will basically not block anything. It runs right through their system. And when you buy those Malawi and Tanganyika flakes of the right brands, it gives the right you know, proteins and things like that. And it also gives some, especially if you buy Malawi cichlid flakes, you'll get some Mabuna formulas. Especially Tropical makes the Mabuna formula, which is more veggie based. And as you guys know, Auratus are Mabuna. If you don't know that, then I can just tell you they are Mabunas. And you know, they're rock dwelling fish, and they eat algae from the rocks. So feeding them spirulina is a good idea. And they mostly should get vegetable matter. However, they actually do eat kind of a lot of meat, I would say. And they don't take any damage from it as other Mabunas do. And Auratus in general are just hated in the African cichlid community because of the fact that they're very aggressive. But I actually don't think that they're so aggressive. I've always thought that those are the fish that always would get picked on and stuff like that. I mean, almost all my Auratus are dead, except my male over here. This guy, he isn't dead yet, and he has been pretty high in the hierarchy for a pretty long time, and he hasn't killed any other fish. So I mean, he's a good habitat in this tank. But you know, there's some trouble with people saying that Auratus are really aggressive and things like that. But trust me, they're not. If you get more of them, they won't really mind other fish. They'll kind of keep it a hierarchy in their own little school, and they'll actually school kind of like that will actually kind of school, and it's pretty cool. And they'll have some small fights and stuff like that. But that is just general for African cichlids. They're not more aggressive like so. I can see that they're aggressive if you only got one Auratus in your big African cichlid tank, because that means it wants a status, it wants to get high up in the hierarchy. But when there's multiple Auratus, it just wants to get high in the hierarchy by the other Auratus, and it doesn't really actually bother the other African cichlids. Now do mind, this is my experience, and I tell you guys my experience, and I know it works for 100% sure. So I know, I mean I've kept Auratus for what, like 3 years now, almost 3 years, and actually no, 2.5 years, sorry for that. 2.5 years I've kept Auratus, and I've kept them right from the start. I've always thought they're really cool African cichlid. They're also very cheap, so that is a good thing, and I actually think they're pretty easy to breed, because I wouldn't expect that any of my African cichlids would breed, because my pH in the water, in the tap water around this area is not very, you know, very base. So it's only about 6.9, 6.8, which is actually kind of sour, actually kind of, you know, acidic. But you know, when I put my, I once used the reef crystal salt that I use for my reef tank, but you know, it's like, you know, it actually does help with the pH and stuff like that and the KH, but you know, it's very expensive and stuff like that. But you can get some African cichlid salt, but I just don't really trust that. I don't really think it's a very good brand. I don't trust it really, but I haven't tried it yet, so I can't just say that it doesn't work, but it just seems kind of, you know, it just doesn't seem real. It really doesn't, because it's not natural to put salt in fresh water. Let's just put it like that. And I wouldn't put any buffers in, because I have used buffers before and it works fine and stuff like that. But again, it's not the natural way, and you want to get the more natural way of actually keeping your fish. And I think that's a big mistake that a lot of African cichlid people do. And I think that I can say right away is that the new tank bred African cichlids are actually very, very hardy, and they've kind of developed, almost evolutionized to actually like get used to low pH, and they can go in pHs that is like 7.0, and that's a very normal pH in everybody's tap water. And you know that they have no problems breeding in that water either, because I've had 6.9 pH and my Auratus bred. So I mean, pH doesn't really mean that much if you got tank bred African cichlids. Of course, if you got wild caught cichlids, I can see why I would get you know, a good pH and stuff like that. But you shouldn't really care about tank bred species, and that's what I've told a lot of people. There's just recently, actually, when I started making my African cichlid freshwater videos, I've gotten a lot of questions about the pH. A lot of people have sent me private messages about it, and you know, oh, just look at this guy, he's awesome. Look at that guy. I really love these African cichlid fries. They're very, very pretty. But anyways, you know, they have been asking me, you know, is it really important to get a high pH, and how can I do it, and is it necessary? I really want to breed African cichlids and stuff like that. And I've always told them, in my experience, it doesn't really matter, because I've bred African cichlids in 6.9 pH, and that's very rarely seen, I know that. But all I know, and all I've gotten to know by other experienced aquarists, is that the new tank bred African cichlids should not really have any problems with the pH whatsoever. Of course, you don't want the pH to be planted tank level with 6.6 or 6.7, but 6.9, 7.0, 7.1, 7.2, that is a good pH. You don't need it to get up to 7.8 or something like that. But yeah, so that was just a little African cichlid talk video and a little update on my African cichlid fry, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I hope you guys actually like these guys anyway, because I haven't made videos on them in